Alright guys, Sinner spoiler review. So if you've not seen the movie, do not move forward. Go check out my out of theater reaction that's non-spoiler, and then come check out this one. I just got out of the theater, so I'm just going to do it right now. Here's my poster. They're giving them away at the theater. So let's just get right into it. Like I said, spoiler review. So this movie takes place in the Deep South in the 30s. Michael B. Jordan plays twin brothers. I wasn't sure if they gave us away in the trailer, so I didn't mention it in my non-spoiler review. And like I mentioned, I wonder if Jonathan Majors was supposed to play one of these brothers. Now, again, they were twins, so that wouldn't really make sense because they don't look alike. But I'm wondering maybe if it was supposed to be an older brother, younger brother, and then Jonathan Majors had his drama, and maybe they switched it and just had Michael B. Jordan play twins. He did a really good job. I think it was a little bit unnerving at first, and I was kind of wondering, like, why didn't they just cast another actor here? It would have been better than doing the CGI. But the more the movie went along, you kind of got used to it. They kind of play like gangster characters, so they mention Al Capone, and they're coming from Chicago. They're back in the South where they grew up. They got a bunch of money. It looks like they stole it somehow, and they're buying this barn from this guy who they are pretty sure is in the KKK, and they're pretty sure they're going to screw him, but they buy this big barn, and their plan is to essentially turn it into like a blues kind of music kind of house with dancing and whatnot. There really aren't vampires for a large chunk of the first half of this movie. I would say the vampires don't really come until the second half. So they don't really do that thing where they set up the villain in the movie like a superhero movie. They kind of just wait. I didn't love the vampire stuff. I'll do that after because I don't want to start with negative stuff. The good stuff, like I said, the period piece stuff was very strong. Really, really immersive. Like I said, I think this had potential for its own show. I think Michael B. Jordan, I was watching, I'm like, you can almost do like a Boardwalk Empire, style show like this in the Deep South with Michael B. Jordan. And it's a little bit bittersweet when that happens. It happens to me sometimes watching a show that could be like a whole nother show. But essentially it's them two, and they pick up, his younger cousin who plays music, and Omar, I think what's his name? Omar, I forgot his last name. But he's been in a bunch of movies, and they pick him up, and they essentially put this crew together, and that's kind of the first half of the movie, and they're really not good guys. Like, Michael B. Jordan is not a heroic character, he's killing people, but he does have friends, and he kind of puts together this party. And I guess one critique of this is just having watched that first trailer, you kind of know, you've seen scenes, right? So you kind of know. I think they gave away some stuff they shouldn't have. I think, if you saw the trailer, you knew Haley Steinfeld was going to turn into a vampire, and so that kind of gave away a little bit of the movie. And that's the problem with trailers. The way you cut them is things in the trailer haven't happened yet and are going to happen, which isn't unique to this movie. It's a problem I've had with DC trailers for a long time, but what are you going to do? As the movie progresses, I guess we get our first vampire character who he lies to this family and pretends like he's going to basically, he lies and pretends that, he's kind of like on the run, but he's really a vampire. And the reason he's seeking cover, as we find out, is because the sun was coming up. As the party kind of progresses, we eventually Michael B. Jordan's brother gets bit by one of these vampires, Haley Steinfeld, during a sex scene, and then he eventually turns. And so you kind of knew, obviously going into the movie, I kind of had a feeling that, obviously if there's twin brothers and it's a vampire movie, one of them is going to turn, so that wasn't surprising. But that definitely created more obstacles and made it a harder job to act, because Michael B. Jordan was playing both brothers, who were similar, but still, it's two roles, and then he was playing this vampire character, so he played a bunch of roles, and I think he did a really good job. Delroy Lindo is also like a musician or like a harmonica player who they pick up, and I think he adds a lot of comedic relief throughout the movie. And yeah, throughout this party, we kind of learn that the vampires are not able to enter, so they have to be invited in. And that was kind of my part, is there is a scene where like one of the characters eventually just goes crazy and tells them to come in because she wants to kill all of them. And I think, not a plot hole, but there were only like 10 of them at most in the barn. And then the fighting took place, and like all these people are getting stabbed and killed. And I'm like, there were not this many people in the barn when these people came in. So there were little nitpicks like that. I just didn't love the vampire stuff. I think it should have been more fleshed out. Again, I like horror movies that kind of don't explain things. I think Nope was kind of like this. They didn't really explain the monster, so you don't really want backstory and lore, but I think they probably could have set it up a little bit. The vampire stuff just kind of fell flat for me. I almost wish, like I said, we would have just got the period piece without the vampire stuff, which I know sounds crazy because that's the whole point of this movie, but I think you get like a big first half. They didn't really immerse the vampires in it until the second half, other than this one scene. And so you really got like a good taste of what this Southern show is without the vampires, and I really liked it. I'm trying to think of other spoilers, just looking at the poster. So the movie ends, pretty much every character turns. Haley Steinfeld's character turns, all of the women who are, romantic interests turn. Essentially, the only people who make it out are Michael B. Jordan, one of the brothers, and then this character, Sammy. And then this gets us to the post-credit scene, a surprising post-credit scene, in a movie like this, where we get this Sammy character, which I don't know, is it supposed to be like a Sammy Davis Jr. origin story? I don't know, which doesn't make sense because he is from New York, but he must have, being a blues guy, I'm assuming must have played a lot, in New Orleans and down there in Louisiana. So I don't know if they were trying to, make a nod to him, but essentially we get this character who's played, we're now in 1992, and he's at the end of his life, and Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld in more modern clothing walk in, and essentially, we learn that they've survived. And this is what I was talking about in my out of theater reaction is, I don't really know what they were going for with this, I guess. I know what they're going for it. They're trying to, I guess, maybe open up are they trying to open up a franchise? Or are they just trying to close out this movie? But those two vampires survived and obviously have not aged and don't age. So yeah, I guess that was kind of, I've actually kind of liked it. I thought it was a cool scene. I don't know if we're going to get Sinners 2 with like him and Haley Steinfeld in modern times, because that's like a totally different movie. But I feel like this was almost like an idea they had because it was such a simple scene and tacked on at the end. I feel like they almost had the idea, let's just add this scene at the end and it gives us the option to having a sequel if it's really, really popular, but we don't have to do it. Because none of the other actors were in this, and obviously it's a modern set design, so I don't think this really took much work at all. But overall, a really, really solid movie. I'll have to talk to someone else to get really deeper into details. Those are like the big spoiler points. No one really makes it out alive. And I guess, at the end, he kills the leader. Michael B. Jordan stabs the leader, and then sets him on fire, and then they all turn on fire. And I didn't really love this scene, to be honest. I thought it was a little campy, but not in a good way. But again, like I said, still a good movie. The one scene that I think will be controversial that I want to talk about is the music scene. There's a scene where the Sammy character starts playing music, and then it starts cutting to like different generations of music. So we see like an electric guitar, and then we see a DJ, and we see like more modern people dancing, and we're like, I thought it broke immersion. I think a lot of people are really going to like this scene, but I think if you're doing a 30s period piece, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Again, if you're doing kind of like a Tarantino-esque movie where anything goes, it makes more sense, but I don't think it made sense here. Again, like I said in my other review, obviously Ryan Coogler knows way more about movies than I do, so it's not to say I know more, but again, just in terms of breaking immersion, I just disagreed with that part, and you'll definitely know when you see it. It's like in the middle of the movie. So that's my review of Sinners. Like I said, a quality movie. I definitely would recommend seeing it. Just not 100% perfect. I don't know why it was showing 100% Rotten Tomatoes. I think that's a little crazy. But that's my review. I'd go see it this weekend. Thanks guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.